What's happening? What's happening, guys? It is Thursday, August 19th, 2021. This morning, we're going to be talking about the difference between being right and being effective, and why being right and being effective do not always go hand in hand. You know, this is a conversation that is so relevant right now. The more that we can understand how this works, how being effective is more important than being right, it's going to help a lot of people. So get ready, guys. Let's get started.
It is ultimately important for you to look at your goals, truly what you want to do in your life, and then look at the people who you spend the most time with in your life and figure out if that lines up.
All right, guys, what's happening? Good morning to you and happy Thursday. Hope you guys are having an awesome Thursday morning. This topic, guys, is one that, I've actually been thinking about for quite some time, because I think that, a lot of the things that are going on in the world right now, I think that our ability to understand this is one of the most important things that we can do when it comes to, helping the world around us, getting to a better place, people feeling a little bit more calm in the environment that's going on right now in the world, in our country, around the world, everything. And so what I wanted to talk about this morning was why being right and being effective just don't always go hand in hand, right? And what do I mean by that? What I mean is that you can be 100% right in taking a stand for something, or you can be 100% right in a debate that you have with someone, and you could still walk away feeling defeated because of your inability to be effective in that conversation. And so what I mean by that, what I mean by the word effective, is to be understood, is to be able to exist in that conversation where things are maybe a little uncomfortable, but you're able to kind of hold your own. You're able to still have that conversation and not lose it, right? Not have this person feel like you're attacking them or feeling attacked yourself, whatever the case is. But being effective is really important in conversation. And so it is more important in my mind to be effective than it is to, try to make your point of just being right. And so that's what we're going to dig into here this morning a little bit. So, one of the things that I wrote down this morning as I was preparing for this show is that being effective in a lot of cases, and especially in today's climate, in today's world, being effective takes emotional maturity, right? It takes vision. It takes understanding the culture that's around us on another level. It takes listening, and it takes being willing to be educated by a person that you actually might generally disagree with. And so when you think about that, I want you guys to think about this. And the easiest examples of this are, generally speaking, political figures. And I want to use this example. If you guys have ever seen this on late night television, they will go around and they'll ask random people on the street, if they agree with a particular position on something. And they'll know that this person is voting for one side or the other. Well, they will give the opposing person's view, somebody that they pretty much know this person that they're talking to dislikes or disagrees with. And that person will agree with the position, but they will have disagreed with it connected to the person. And so I want you guys to process that. That is what I'm talking about when I say being effective takes emotional maturity. It takes being willing to communicate with people that you generally disagree with. It takes being willing to take the time to pierce through the surface level disagreements that someone might have with you and actually be able to have somebody hear you. And so being able to be heard doesn't come from just being right. It actually comes from being effective in how you explain your position, and how understanding that might take more than one conversation for the other person to see things from your perspective. So, going into a conversation with someone about something that you may see differently, understanding that the conversation is going to take a while, right? It may take repeated attempts to be able to actually be successful at having these types of conversations with people. And I want you guys to remember that, it is so important for us to understand that, to switch someone's opinion or to get them to see something that you are trying to get across to them, it's not always going to happen that easy, right? It's not always going to just be a quick conversation. I don't understand why they don't see what I see. It takes time for you to have a conversation, for someone to actually understand your experiences, your perspective. And this is what it takes to actually be effective in conversation. And in today's world, guys, there's so many people that are just so quick to rush to argument, right? To not be effective in their communication. They just want to throw stones at each other. And we see that all the time, right? And I wanted to talk about this morning because of how often I see it, especially right now. It's like, man, we're so quick to run and judge or throw words at people that aren't necessarily always fair. No one will ever care if you're right or not if you don't actually take the time to properly communicate with them. In fact, someone will argue with you that the sky isn't blue because of your inability to be effective in a conversation. And I see this not just in personal stuff, not just in the things that are going on around the world, but many times in business, right? There's leaders that talk to their people as if, they owe them something, and those people don't owe you anything. You are employing people. You actually owe them if you're a leader, and those people are showing up every day to support your mission, right, as a leader. And so I want you guys to think about that. Think about how it is that you're approaching conversations. What does it sound like when you're having a conversation with somebody that you disagree with? One of the things that my wife laughs about all the time is she says, man, you have this ability to stay calm in conversations when I absolutely disagree with something that somebody's saying. In fact, in many cases, it could be ludicrous what somebody is actually saying. But my genuine curiosity for how they came to that conclusion is what allows me to stay effective in those conversations. And so I want you guys to think about how you are approaching that when you're communicating with other people, how you're approaching those conversations. Are you able to keep conversations calm to a level where someone that clearly knows that you have a different opinion will still take the time to communicate with you? And this is really important, guys. In today's world, it's never been more important, in my opinion, for us to be aware of how we operate in these types of conversations, because the amount of division that's going on in our world, I think a lot of it comes from these conversations and these, our inability to be effective in our obsession with being right. So I want you to think about this one thing long and hard today. This is probably one of the most important things about the conversations and about, interacting with people that you might disagree with. I want you to think about the frame in which you're approaching how right you are. And by frame, I mean, what is the scenario? Like, how are you having this conversation? Where are you having it? Is there more than one person around, or is it just you and another individual? Is it a public forum like social media, or is it a one-on-one conversation where someone would be a lot less defensive? If you actually think about the frame of how you're approaching something, what does the tone of your voice sound like? If you're upset about something, are you calling someone right away, or are you waiting until you can kind of gather your thoughts and be calm when you approach those conversations? And I promise you, if you're able to analyze the frame of how you're approaching these conversations, those conversations will be much more effective. And you will leave those conversations feeling much, much better about yourself, about that conversation, and about the actual result that comes from how that interaction went. because you're actually able to take the feedback. You're actually able to listen to that other person. You're actually able to have a real, meaningful conversation that will help both of you. And so if you are able to stay calm in situations where the opposing party is arguing with you, if you are able to stay calm enough to have the frame be proper of how you're going to approach a conversation with someone, if you're able to stay calm, especially when people maybe don't deserve it, you're going to be extremely effective in conversations. You're going to be extremely effective in people understanding where you're coming from. And you're ultimately going to live a more fulfilled life that feels better, feels like you're arguing less and talking more. And that is ultimately what it's all about, right? And so the title of this show, Being Right and Being Effective, don't always go hand in hand. They just don't. And most people, to be honest with you, don't get it right. Most people are going in as if they know all of everything that's going on in the world, and their position is the only one that could possibly be right. And that is, it is foolish. It is foolish to think that way, because there's something to learn from everyone. I read the books of the titles and the topics that I disagree with because I genuinely want to understand the opposing view. I have conversations with people that have different views than I do because I genuinely am curious about their position and how they came to it. And so when we're telling people things that we believe over and over and over again, it's going to turn into an argument. But if we ask questions of another person's position, we can be extremely effective in not just understanding where they're coming from, but possibly learning something ourselves. And so I want you guys to think about that as you go into the day today. You know, being right is not everything. Being right and effective is the best way to approach things. And when those things don't go hand in hand, when being right and being ineffective are the case, it creates a massive amount of frustration for people. And it'll create a massive amount of frustration for you. And so I want you to think about that as you go through the day today. And I want you to observe kind of how other people are communicating, how comments on social media are going, and arguments that are happening based on posts that are put out there. And think about the frame and how effective you are in your communication with these people that you're communicating with, that you're having these discussions with. And if you find yourself pulling back from those discussions in the first place, like, man, it's not worth having those discussions, it probably starts with your inability to be effective in those conversations in the past. And so I want you to go into today being more aware than you've ever been of what that sounds like, what level of patience it takes to sit in those conversations, but always keeping your eye on the long term of what is the benefit, right? What is the benefit to you being able to have these types of conversations, for you being able to sit and analyze someone else's point of view? And hopefully over time, it may help you. It may educate you. It doesn't mean that you necessarily agree with them, but it means that maybe you understand them a little bit better. Maybe there's something you can take away from that conversation that will help you be just a little bit more understanding, have a little bit more grace. And that, folks, is what the world is all about. That's what we're all after. We're all after, being able to see things from other people's perspectives, being able to help them see things from our perspective. And that is how the world gets to be a better place. Little by little, brick by brick, conversation by conversation, we can do better. And I think that it starts with not just focusing on being right, but focusing on having effective communication with those people around us, especially the ones that we disagree with. That's it for today, guys. I hope you have an awesome Thursday, and I will see you guys again tomorrow morning. I appreciate all of you guys that were here. I actually didn't say good morning to everybody, so let me do that now. Rick, what's happening, man? Eddie Brown, Bill, Matt, Christina, David Martin, what's happening? Amanda Sanner, good morning to you. Let's see. Matt, I think I said your name already. Good morning. Curtis, Scott, Jared, Gary, and Daniel Good. Good morning, guys. Thank you guys for being here. I really appreciate it. And I will see you guys again tomorrow morning right here, same place, same time on Morning Perspective. Love you guys. Thank you so much for being here.